But imagine you're developing a strategy that doesn't just look at spreadsheets and metrics, but considers the nuances of customer behavior and performance. This is what's so key. There's all this information our customers give us on social, in feedback, in qualitative interviews, where, as I recommend, you should talk to 2 to 10 of your customers or customers to be. Listen to them. Don't pretend you know their pain points. You don't know, and they don't even consider it pain. You do, because you think you're like some Jedi who's going to hypnotize them and they'll be so impressed that they'll work with you. Hey, if you're as old as I am, maybe you can get away with that lie, but it is a lie. Because today with social, everything's transparent, and you need to understand that AI is an empowerizing organizer, but you got to do it with a little bit of ethical considerations. In other words, just don't strip, take stuff out, do stuff only in the public. Don't take it from anywhere else. But what's amazing is there's so much information. So we're going to talk about harnessing this bias in a new way. Now that sounds odd. Bias is always considered negative, but let's face it. You as a business, you as just a single creator going out there to chat GPT trying to create something, all you have is your point of view from where you grew up, from your childhood, from the culture you live in, from the society, from the labels you put on. I live in Chico, California. It's way different than when I grew up in Madison, New Jersey. Different labels, same people, different attitudes, different ways of talking, right? That makes sense. Bias is inherent. It's in your language, your behavior, it's stereotypes. None of this is, I'm not talking about the bad bias, okay? For this pod, we want to talk about how to actually leverage good bias from your customers. So instead of being crushed by old illusions in the name of staying relevant, let's talk about bias, because bias is a chameleon, shifting colors depending on who's looking and what they want to find. Garbage in, garbage out. Remember the questions I told you in the last pod is so important? But you're going to find what you look for. And a lot of times we cherry pick and just end up doing the same thing. This is what I want you to avoid. Switching business perspectives from persuasion, trying to convince them to work with you, to customers. And this all starts by balancing points of view and listening to customers. Now, this is not some pitch that you're going to hear, even if you're at an enterprise level working in big companies. There's all these little jargons everyone uses, but how many of you actually go out among the customers? They're there. And if you listen to them, sometimes it's brutal. In fact, I'm going to teach you that I want it to be brutal. Customers are not always kind. All right. And we learn so much from the person who's disappointed as in the person who loves us. And as I've said for years, I've taken this approach, but before AI, I basically had to do a lot of work and write it together and in my mind, create these customer voices, right? But with ChatGPT, Claude, Bard, whichever one you use, honestly, they're not all the same, but you'll find ones that work. You can actually share the customer voice instead of cutting and pasting somebody's sales letter that you like and say, do it in this tone. You can create a voice and say, make it sound like this.